All right, in this video, I'm gonna take you through my process and how I'm gonna make deer brats, Slim Jims, and also summer sausage. I'm gonna mix the Slim Jims. I'm gonna make half of them Pepperjack. I'm gonna make half of them cheddar. Then I've got my summer sausage tubes, and then I've got the rest I'm gonna do brats. So I'm just gonna take you through the whole process. This is just with 2 rear quarters off of a deer. I've got about 20 pounds of meat. 17.5 pounds of it is actually the deer. And then I've got around 2 pounds of pork fat that I picked up at a local butcher shop. I'm gonna go ahead and run you through what all that I have to get started with. And today we're just gonna go ahead and start grinding the meat. I don't have everything I need, like the Pepperjack cheese that I've ordered. I don't have it in, should be here on Monday. Today's Saturday, but I wanted to get a head start on this process because last year when I did it, it took me all day long and I kind of wanted to space it out and make it more of an enjoyable process. We're gonna go ahead and start off today with this 500-watt grinder from Meat Your Maker. We're gonna grind up all the meat and then we're gonna go out and put it in our garage fridge, clear some space out and store it in there for about a day. I might make some summer sausage tomorrow while I'm waiting on the Pepperjack cheese and that. So we'll go ahead and grind all this up today and we'll go from there. All right, so let's go ahead and run down some of the things that you're gonna have to have in order to do this process at home. And I'll go ahead and start off with this sausage stuffer here. I don't have it all assembled right now. This is just the canister portion of it. And this is a 5-pound stuffer from Meat Your Maker. It's the same company that I've got this grinder down here. It's the same company that makes both of these. I used this one last year with my parents' old grinder that they had, and I was pretty impressed with it. I didn't have any issues except for the stuffing horn that I was trying to use was too small for these 17mm casings. So this year I've ordered the correct size. I shouldn't have the casings snapping on me, breaking on me, and causing problems. I've got these 17mm ones, and I went ahead and I would recommend go ahead and getting the 19mm. That way they fit onto your stuffing horn a little bit better, give you a little bit more room to play with, and they don't just cause a headache like they did for me last year. But I should go ahead and mention that this grinder down here, it actually doubles down as a sausage stuffer as well, and it was $120. So I would recommend trying this out first before you order the sausage stuffer separately. I just so happened to order that this year, and I didn't know that it actually was a stuffer too, but it's an automatic stuffer, whereas that one down there is just a hand crank manual stuffer. So you're gonna need a grinder, sausage stuffer. You're gonna need some tinted cure. This is some old stuff, but hey, it still works. So let's go ahead and use it again. Casings we've already talked about. Just make sure they fit the stuffing horn that's provided, or you're gonna have to order a different sized horn. And also when you order, if you do order a different sized horn, make sure that your flare piece fits this as well as the longer tube portion fits your casing. This is gonna be summer sausage casings here. I've got a 10 count. I've got these off of LEM as well as this set of casings, and these were off of Amazon. I also got summer sausage seasoning, kind of saving me from having to make sure that I've got all the different ingredients I need. This is just a pre-packaged deal that you can mix with 5 pounds. So something I've kind of planned out with this, with the 20 pounds of deer meat. I'm gonna stuff 4 different times through this thing, and once is gonna be the Pepperjack Slim Jims, once is the Cheddar Slim Jims, once is the summer sausage, and once is the brats. So I've kind of planned it out a little bit better than normal, and I'm gonna make the most out of each batch. And something else that you're gonna want, if you don't go ahead and get these pre-packaged seasonings, which I do recommend, I've got a couple more coming in for the Slim Jims, you're gonna want some kind of seasoning just to season your Slim Jims or your summer sausage. I used this one last year, wasn't a huge fan of it. I couldn't tell whether it was the way we smoked them or just the flavoring. I wasn't a big fan, so I'm gonna go ahead and use something a little bit different this year. And last but not least, let me take you outside here. So my friends actually bought me a smoker here. This is a Pit Boss with a cover on it. I'm excited as can be to use this. It's got good temperature control. I've used it on some other stuff. Last year we made the Slim Jims in the oven, and they were just a little bit harder. You had to pay attention a lot more, and you weren't getting that good smoky flavor. So I'm excited to use that this year, and we'll go ahead and bring you through that whole process and see how they turn out. But for now, we're gonna get to grinding. All right, so I took the deer meat out of the freezer this morning. I had 3 Ziploc bags full, And then I had the pork fat, and then I've got the Italian sausage in the refrigerator over here that's thawed out, ready to go. So I took these out of the Ziploc bags earlier, and now I'm just letting them rest here in this dish pan that I bought from Dollar General this morning. It's an 18-quart pan. It seems to do really well as far as holding everything that I'm gonna need today. This is about 20 pounds, like I said earlier. So I got 2 of them for a couple dollars a piece. I'm gonna use one to catch all the meat coming out of the grinder, and then one to start the stuffing process. And then we'll go ahead and start using this one after this one's full. So I'm just gonna let this thaw out a little bit more and then dice up my chunks into like 1-inch pieces. All right, so I've changed up the ratio a little bit on the meat that I've got here. I went ahead and went up to the local grocery store here in town and picked up 3 pounds of this ground pork. And as you can see, it contains a lot of pork fat in it. And I just wanted to add some more fat to what I already had. I was looking at about a 90 to 10 ratio there. And now I've bumped it up to like a 78 to 22 or 80-20. So I just wanted to make sure I got it right this time and didn't have too lean of a meat. So I went ahead and added some pork fat here. So here's our 18-quart container full of about 18 pounds of deer meat. This isn't including the pork fat or anything. Like I said, I'm gonna mix that in later. We're gonna go ahead, start grinding it here. As you can see, I've got ice in here just to keep it cool. I'll probably add a little bit of water as we're grinding it. But this meat's pretty much still frozen. It just thawed out in the fridge, but when I was pulling it apart, I was having a really tough time. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so one little trick that I'd like to mention that I've learned off a lot of other guys watching these videos, they say you can add water throughout the process to make it easier. And what I did was just add some ice while it was it was thawing in the ice box yesterday, and I was a little worried about it getting warmer, and I wanted to make sure that it was perfectly cool. So I added some ice cubes from the refrigerator, and then I still had some left from that. So all I've been doing is kind of feeding them up here and then leaving them in the pan, and you can see they're kind of just melting slowly. And I'm not necessarily feeding them through there. If 1 or 2 gets in there, I'm not worried about it, and it grinds up well. But I'm just letting these slowly drip down in here, and it helps kind of feed the meat through there and get it ground up. So we're gonna go ahead and start the fine grinding now. All right, so I just sent all the meat through the fine grinding blade, and I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple of these collagen summer sausage tubes. I'm gonna get them soaking here, and I'm gonna try to make 5 pounds. I'm gonna take 5 pounds out here, weigh it, and then mix in my seasoning. And it says each one of these can do 2.5 to 3 pounds. So I'm gonna take out 2 of these. All right, so here's my bowl with the saltwater solution. I've got 2 casings. I'm gonna put these in here for about 3 to 5 minutes, it says. Get these soaking. It says to mix, if we're doing 5 pounds of meat, we're gonna mix this whole bag with 5 ounces of water. Tried it before by myself with a manual one, so maybe the automatic will help me out, but I don't really see that being the case. Stuff, and then we'll try to get going here. All right, so there's a tube. I think the stuffer did really well. I got a little bit of air in there, but I just needed a little bit of help controlling the casing as the sausage came out. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and get another one out of this, and then we'll go ahead and put them on the smoker. But I'm pretty impressed with the Meat Your Maker 500 watt grinder / sausage stuffer. I mean, you can't beat it really. Okay, so I just pulled the summer sausage tubes out of the refrigerator that I had them in cooling, and we're gonna go ahead and throw them on the smoker now. I'm just using a pellet smoker, and I'm shooting for, I wanted to go to 165 as slow and as long as I could go until the internal temp got to 165 on these. I'm pretty sure that's what venison needs to be, but I'll have to double check on that in the meantime, so don't use my words on that. But the lowest setting on this is 180. I'm using hickory pellets, and we'll go ahead and get these things on there, and then I'll give it about an hour, and then I'll probably come back and go ahead and put the probe in them. Go ahead and sit them on this middle rack, I guess. Then we're gonna go ahead and shut our slide on here. All right, so we'll check in when these are getting close. So while I'm waiting on this summer sausage to get done, I'm gonna go ahead and get an ice bath going in this cooler and set it out by the grill. That way, whenever it comes off, I can finish the cooking process and cool them down as soon as they come off the smoker and I don't forget. Okay, so the summer sausage that's in probe number 1 is done. I just gotta figure out which one that is, and I'm gonna put it straight into the ice bath here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab some oven mitts, and then all I'm gonna do is put them down here. I've just got this full of ice water. So we got the summer sausage done last night. It took us about 6 or 8 hours. I had it at 165 to 170 on the smoker for probably 4 hours, and then I decided to bump it up to 200, and the temperature from there went pretty quickly to 165 degrees internally. But you can see this turned out pretty much perfect looking, and it tastes even better. So step 1 of the process is done. We've got the summer sausage done. Now we're gonna move on to either the brats or the Slim Jims. So these are the ingredients that we're gonna use for the Pepperjack and Jalapeno Slim Jims. We've got a pound of Pepperjack cheese, and we have 5 pounds of meat. We're gonna add half of this bag, so we're gonna add half a pound of cheese. We're gonna add a teaspoon of this instant cure, and then we're gonna add around 4 ounces of this jalapeno seasoning. Then we're gonna mix it all up, and then we'll be ready to stuff it. 4 ounces of the jalapeno seasoning. We got all this stuff here on the sausage maker. The sausage maker, they shipped us this high temp cheese and all this stuff here. So get it all in one place. I'll put a link in the video. Then we're just gonna add roughly half of that bag, which is half a pound of the cheese. And then you can re-seal this up. And what we did last year with this bag of cheddar over here was just vacuum sealed it. And this is about a year old, but it's still perfectly good. So now we'll go ahead and get this loaded into the stuffer. We've already got our casing set up here to go. I've just tied off the end, and then we'll be ready here in a second. So we went ahead and added a little bit of water just to get the seasoning to mix a little bit better. We had it in the refrigerator for a day or a day and a half to cool, and I think that dried it out a little bit, but we added just enough to get it to mix. And then you want to put this in kind of in layers and push down on it to try to get all the air out that you can, but we're ready to start stuffing. I'm gonna go ahead and put this meat back in the refrigerator right now because you want to keep it super cold, otherwise it's a lot harder to mix. So we're gonna go ahead and put it back up before we make the next round. Okay, so we had to go grab a clamp. Last year I got away with not using one, but I've just got a simple C-clamp over here using it to hold down while I'm doing the stuff in here. But we got a little too much in the canister here, and we've had a lot that's leaking out the top. We've got quite the restriction here on this 12mm tube, so it's kind of backing up, but we just went ahead and took those scraps and put them in this bucket over here, and we'll probably make like a burger patty out of it or something. But we do have a little bit coming off in the tube now, so don't be surprised though if there's more coming out the top here in a second. We kind of just want to hold a little bit of pressure against it back just to make it fill, and you really don't have to do too much. This thing's gonna walk all over the counter though, which is fine. But you don't just have to keep continually turning the crank either. It kind of almost does it at its own rate. Probably grab another clamp here in a second. All right, so we're to the end pretty much on this one. I like to give myself a little bit of room here, and I back this handle off just a hair. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this. I can probably get a little bit more in there. All right, that's it, that's good. I'm gonna pull this off and give myself enough room to just tie a simple little knot here. And then we'll go ahead and put this one in the refrigerator. And get another one threaded up on top, over the top of the horn, and pull it all the way as far as you can up there, and just continue the process until you can get as much up there as you can. Okay, so one thing that you can do when you get down to the end here, you're gonna have just a little bit left over, and you can see like these areas up here, we've got some. So we're just gonna form some patties out of, and then we'll vacuum seal those, and then you'll have burger from just your scraps instead of throwing them away. All right, for our second batch, we're doing the high temp cheddar cheese. Another, is it teaspoon of instant cure, and then this time we're going to use Rivertown Food Rubs rib rub, and it's just an all-purpose seasoning. We're going to go ahead and give it a try. So we got the smoker set up it's at 171 right now. The lowest this thing will go is 180, just like on the summer sausage that I made yesterday. It did a really good job though. It stayed around this temperature the whole time. It never even got to 180 until I bumped it up to 200. But we're gonna go ahead and throw these on the middle rack in here. I'll go ahead and bump this out real quick, and we're gonna try to get some of these done tonight. I'm gonna get one set of these. These are the Pepperjack ones. That way we don't start getting them confused back and forth with the other ones, but I'm just gonna lay them on here. Try to keep a little bit of a gap in there, but I'm not gonna be too picky with it. But we'll let these stay on here for probably over an hour at this temperature, maybe 2 hours. And I'll come back out here with a probe in a minute and insert it in. And then after a while, I'll bump it up to 200 and try to finish them off. All right, so you can see I kind of just snaked them all around in there. We got them all on that middle rack in there. We'll give them a little bit. Check in here before too long. All right, so we're about 2 hours and 15 minutes in, and I went ahead and bumped the smoker up to 200 degrees. And the two probes are reading 136 and 135 or 144. It's kind of bouncing around a lot, but we're looking for 165 before we pull them off and put them on the cold water bath. But we're getting there pretty quick, and I think it'd take probably about another hour. So we've hit the temperature we're looking for. Probe number 2 is bouncing around like crazy, but we're at 165 over here, and this occasionally will bump to like 170 or something. So we're gonna go ahead and pull these things off, and we're gonna put them go ahead and give them a couple minutes in here, and then you should be able to come out here and feel them, and if they're cooled off, they're ready to come in. These things look pretty amazing. So one thing we're going to do differently for the sausages or the bratwursts, we're going to go ahead and do the non-high temp cheese, just a regular cheddar cheese cube. And she's going to put them in the, is it a grinder, I guess? Food processor. Food processor. Try to cut them up a little bit, that way that we can get that melt going inside instead of a non-melting action like you would have on your Slim Jims and stuff. I'd say we have close to half a pound again, and we're going to do another 4 to 5 pounds of sausages slash bratwurst. But we haven't ever done these before, but we're using actual natural hog casings, and we're just sliding them up on the same tube and then tying off the end on it. I'm not really sure on how this is all going to go, but hopefully it works out pretty good and we don't spend a ton of time trying to learn here. We're gonna go ahead and do the same mix that we did on the Jalapeno Slim Jims, except for we're swapping the Pepperjack out for cheddar this time. So we're gonna do about 4 ounces of this jalapeno summer sausage seasoning, and then we're gonna do a teaspoon of the Instacure, and then half a pound of cheese. So we've learned that these bratwursts take a little more finesse work. It really helps if you have 2 people going with it. But once they get going, they're pretty good. Our first round was all different sizes, but we got a little bit more consistent with the last. I don't really know the trick to it yet. It's just you gotta pay a little more attention, and you can actually move some of the sausage around in there though if you squeeze it, and it gives you a little more space at times. Like here we've got a little bit of a bubble. You can take it and kind of push it out of there. And then we've noticed too that you want to be careful not to like overfill it. That way you can actually get it twisted at the end, which we'll show you how to do here in a second. Okay, Kayla here's going to show you how to, once you get to the end, you can just cut and then you make a little knot here just to tie it off. This is all we've been doing. You just want to leave yourself a little bit of room. And then wrap it around and then through the loop and pull it pretty tight. And then you're gonna take these in whatever size that you want. So we're trying to go for bratwurst, and you just roll them over, and then you roll the next one the opposite direction. So there, we got 3 out of that, and we'll go ahead and bring them over here where we're laying them down on these towels to dry. We're supposed to let them dry out first, and then we're gonna go ahead and vacuum seal those and get them ready for our fall bonfires or next summer. All right, everybody, so we finished smoking the last batch of Slim Jims last night. I went ahead and vacuum sealed them all. We've got about 20 bags in total between all of our flavors and just Slim Jims alone. There's probably 8 to 9 Slim Jims, about 5-6 inches long in each one of these bags. So we probably made a total of around 200 Slim Jims and vacuum sealed them all. And this is one thing that I do recommend. If you're gonna go through this whole process and take the time to do it, you might as well invest in a decent vacuum sealer. And this one we've got here is from Cabela's. I've got a whole review on it. I'll put the link in the description for it as well. So far, out of everything that I've tasted, I really like the summer sausage and the Pepperjack Slim Jims. They're incredible. I can't get over them really. And I think the key to this whole thing is taking the time to smoke them slowly and then putting them in that ice bath and to finish the cooking process. But if you guys have any questions, be sure to drop them in the comments below. Please subscribe if you are interested in any of this content or want to see some of our hunting videos. We're constantly coming out with new ones, and hopefully we'll keep bringing more and more videos like this to you in the near future. But if there's anything else you've got a question on, just drop them below and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible.
Yeah.